Hey, my friends out there, it's never been more important that we take a look at what's going on with the housing market and my real estate friends. It's super important that you become a sense maker in this environment and to protect your friends, your family, your clients, and all of your future clients from some of the fear-mongering clickbait headlines. So in this video, I'm going to break down kind of the four things that I want everybody to be doing when they're addressing the housing market. And I'll use some of the examples of today and break those down for you as well so you can get your video off to your community ASAP. All right, guys, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I'm almost over 2,000. I appreciate that. Let's dive in. There's four things that I want everybody to use in their housing market videos. Number one is we got to address the national news as well as any economic news. And then number two, we have to take a look at how are the national and economics affecting our local stats. Then number three is there any advice, opportunities, challenges for buyers separately than sellers? And we need to separate those two and have a conversation with both. And then number four is we need to let people know that you're committed to following the housing market trends and then make a commitment to when the next time that you're going to do that is. And in the content, we need to talk about what you are following and why. All right, guys, so let's jump into this. Number one thing is addressing the national news and the national housing market. So let's use today as an example. There's two things that we got to address. Number one is we got to address the interest rates because they have a direct tie to the influence of real estate. So how do you explain interest rates in relationship to your local real estate market? Number one is affordability. Now, what does affordability mean? When you really start to look at one of the affordability metrics, I think that's the one that makes the most sense for us real estate agents and our friends and family, which is the relationship between your average income in your market, the average sales price in the market, and where the interest rates lie today, and then what the kind of average monthly cost to owning a home. So cost of living, or what percentage of the household income is real estate based upon these metrics. See, that makes a lot of sense to me. So as prices have been escalating, but interest rates stayed low, that made affordability not terrible. But then prices are way up here, incomes are here, and then interest rates went up. And then what that did is it drove the affordability too low. So here we are today, and we actually have more of an affordability issue at these price points with these interest rates. So how does that affect us in real estate? If we're going to make sense of this, then what that does is that causes less buyers who can buy homes, reducing the buyer demand. So that's number one. Number two is the national news around the two words, recession and inflation. Inflation is affecting people's cost of living. So as cost of living rises in relationship to housing cost, in relationship to incomes, well, that causes a lot less people to be able to afford to buy the next house, buy a bigger house, more hesitant to buy a house. So what that does is that reduces the buyer demand as well. Same thing with recession. As we see recession in the headlines, you're going to see a lot of fear mongering and clickbait, which is why I need you to make sense of this to your community. Okay. And when you see the term recession, that's just naturally going to cause less buyers to be bullish about buying homes. And you'll see more people a little bit concerned about their jobs, which is then tied to income. So yeah, naturally between interest rates, the concern of recession and inflation and cost of living. So that's step number one, is addressing the housing market news and the economy. Now, step number two is How does this influence your local stats? Okay. And so what I want for all of you is I want you to be looking at, well, what stats should you be following that would then help us all make sense of the national news and how they are influencing the local level. So one of the things that I would be looking at right now with the national news of interest rates and inflation and recession is I want to look at one thing, which is days on market. Days on market's an interesting, and I want to look at that year over year. So in May of 2021, right, what was days on market? In May of 2022, what's days on market? Now, I would not use a percentage. That would be ludicrous. So if someone said, oh my gosh, the days on market is up 125%, what are you talking about? It went from 5 days to 12. That's a terrible decision. But for us to actually notice that it went from 5 to 12 as a local professional, as the local real estate advisor, that's an interesting trend that I would say, hey guys, I'm following this stat because it's going to tell me more about how I should be a good advisor to a home seller. And it also is interesting for me to be able to advise my buyers on how to approach the market. See, so I'm going to follow this stat and I'll keep you guys in tune next month and next month and next month to see if there's any changes and if it shifts into a more dramatic state. Reason to follow me. Next thing I would be covering, I'd be looking at right now in terms of local stats would be under contract. Some people call it pending, whatever it is in your marketplace across the country. Here in California, we kind of call it in escrow. So whatever that is. So if I looked at May of 2021 versus May of 2022, did we see more or less properties go under contract? Right now, some people will say, well, yeah, there's a relationship between inventory and under contract. I totally agree, but it's definitely something worth looking at to see if there's something that you can make sense for your community as an indicator. Number 3 would be, of course, inventory, right? Inventory has always been a problem for us, but most likely if we see less buyer demand, there's a high probability we're going to see higher days on market, we're going to see less under contract, and then we'll see inventory tick up a little bit. So those 3 things make sense, and I'd look at a year over year number. And then number 4 right now, of course, is price reductions. So this would be very valuable for you to be able to share this with your sellers or your next seller, and or even positive news for your buyers. So we're looking at price reduction increases, and that's something that I would want to now follow. So we went from national news into local stats, and then now you can kind of, help clear up and make sense of what's going on. Now let's look at number 3, which is, do you have any interesting advice and or perspective on opportunities and or challenges for buyers and sellers? And how I would do this is I'd say, hey buyers, or hey, if you're out there thinking about buying a home, first and foremost, let's talk. I'd love to talk to you about your fears, concerns, your questions, but also in kind of what your scenario is. Because every buyer, I want to do a unique consultation to make sure I'm helping you most appropriately and effectively. Okay, but hey buyers, here's a couple things that you need to know as you're reading headlines and looking at some of these things. Yes, your interest rates are going to go up, so we need to have a conversation about your risk tolerance, your, how much money you could spend, your down payments, and what your options are. So, hey buyers, let's get together. Let's discuss some of these things, some of your best options on how to navigate. Your cost of your loan goes up, but the opportunity for more homes shows up. So there's kind of a challenge and an opportunity that we need to navigate together. So let's get together and let's look at that. Okay. So that's a call to action. It's specific advice to the buyer. Hey sellers, this is something that you need to be paying attention to for these reasons. Obviously, as days on markets tick up, as we see slowdown in buyer demand, as we see more price reductions, hey sellers, we need to be paying close attention to this trend and making sure that we are coming up with the best strategy to help you achieve your goals. Give me a call. Let's discuss these factors. Okay, so you guys can see my friends out there that are top listing agents, if you're not doing a housing market video, you're making a massive mistake, because I do not want to address the housing market stats and national news on a one-to-one basis when I'm sitting across the table from a seller who's wanting me to sell their home for more money in this environment, and I'm just there telling them the bad news and I'm being negative Nelly. That's a terrible idea. I'd much rather do that in a video presentation that is public, where I was thorough, where I was just objective about the market, and I can deliver that in advance, my friends. And that's how it's going to make it a better experience for you when you're working with sellers. Number 4, last thing is, let's make sure that you are committed to doing at least a monthly housing market report video. I highly recommend that all of you start your YouTube channel and do this on YouTube. I'm having a lot of conversations with people about Instagram Reels versus TikTok. The two places that I believe that high quality educational content belong. They belong on YouTube and they belong on LinkedIn. People are there to be entertained mostly with Facebook, with Instagram, and with TikTok. And so, yes, you can do them there, but I believe that you'll get a better bang for your buck and you'll get more value in the eyes of your community from LinkedIn and YouTube. So choose wisely, my friends. But let's get you on to a commitment of reporting on and making sense of the housing market to your friends, family, and community, and let them know that you're going to be covering this on a monthly basis, accountability, but also then letting them know that, hey, this is the stat that we need to be paying attention to. This is the trend that I'm going to be following, and follow that with me so that I can help you and your family and your friends to make sense of all of this crazy chaos. So my friends, please do that for you. Do that for your friends, do that for your clients, do that for your future clients so that you could help them out. If you guys need any more assistance with how to address the housing market, I'll provide a couple different videos. I've did some do's and don'ts. I did why did prices increase so crazily, and I broke that down on a technical level as an economist. Down below, I'll provide a couple links to YouTube videos of people that I'm following and studying that are helping me make sense of inflation, and another video that is helping me to understand the Fed and what's going on with interest rates, because that's such an important topic. So I'll provide a bunch of resources down below. I hope this helps. Have an awesome day, and let me know how I can help you.